Hello. I am waiting for a flight home and wanted to take a minute to talk about a mental model or 4 mental models for security culture that I find super, super helpful. Um, we've been talking a little bit about culture and identity and mental models. This is a set of 4 models from Lance Hayden, who wrote the excellent book, People-Centric Security. And Lance has graciously published the diagnostic and the model at lancehayden.net/culture under a Creative Commons license. So you can take this and use it in your own team. It's really helpful. But just talk through the 4 different models real quick and explain sort of the tensions between them and when you might typically see them being used by default. So there's, in the 2x2 sort of quadrant here, there's tensions across the top between internally focused way of thinking and an externally focused way of thinking. And then from top to bottom, there's tension between tight control environment or loose control environment. And so I'll start at the top left and just talk through each of these 4 models. On the top left, we have a process culture or model. And a process culture is going to have an internal focus and tight control. You might think about that most commonly being found at a government institution, a government agency. Um, the internal focus really shows up there with government, where they decide what's right and wrong and are less interested about what the outside world thinks. Going over to the top right, a compliance culture also has very tight control, but has much more of an external focus. And you would typically see this, for example, in a healthcare organization, where they have tight control, but they look to outside regulators and standards to define what right and wrong, good and bad is, and then care a lot about living up to those external standards. Moving down, bottom right, we have an autonomy culture. And that's typically found in early stage startups where there's both loose control and an external focus. Very interested in customers and um, finding something that works for people in the outside world, but you don't necessarily get a lot of support. It's very much live or die on your own. Whatever good or bad happens, it's on you. And so that's very, very common to see in early stage startups. And then finally, on the bottom left, you see a trust culture. And that also has loose control, but it's much more focused inside the organization rather than outside the organization. And you would typically see this in nonprofit organizations or extremely mission-driven organizations sometimes, where the collaboration and the relationships between the people inside the company matter a whole lot more than the customers outside the company. So obviously that's painting in very broad strokes. You can't, these always aren't like that, but that's when you would typically see each of these 4 models. So I hope that was useful.